Okay, hi everyone. My name is Miranda, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about what we learned in the book with mesolevel, convener, and mediator roles. So, my why. I think everyone deserves to have help in forming connections. I think connections are so important. Um, a lot of life is who you know and what kind of um, support system you have and what the strength of that support system is. And sometimes we're lucky to be born into a very supportive family or have really awesome friends and have a good team already, but a lot of times that's not the case. And so, even if it's not the case, I think that everybody deserves that. So, with social work, we take it in our hands to see beyond ourselves and help others to forge these connections so that they can have a support system as well. And I think that's really great. Okay, so on this news article, it was called like "Need a New Job? Just swipe right." It talked about a job application app, um, which was interesting, and it was somebody describing their experience as they went on it, as they're looking for a new job. Um, and also kind of the reasoning behind why they even exist. And so one of the quotes from it was, people with diverse and far-reaching networks get promoted faster and evaluated more favorably. Um, so I just thought it was interesting, right? This is kind of outside of the social work context, right? Because this is in the media, it was in BBC News. Um, but it's a real aspect of life that people recognize in the workforce. You need to have these connections and you need to be able to build that. And I just thought that was interesting that there's so many different aspects of our life where having the support system um, is going to help us get farther faster and in a better way too. They also noted bigger bonuses. If you like have an in with the boss kind of, but not like necessarily an in, but just if you go out of your way to build your circle and have people that can vouch for you and have people that will help you get your foot in the door, it really goes a long way. So that's what this news article is saying is what they're talking about the app, and you can swipe and see people with common business interests you and things, and that's how they're kind of growing out um, um, their business connections. So similar to LinkedIn, except imagine LinkedIn mixed with Tinder. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting to see that this article was highlighting that importance of making these connections. From a sociological perspective, I read an article that talked a little bit about the role of a mediator. So we talk about this being on the meso level, which is the middle ground, because there's micro and macro. And so it makes sense that as a social worker, as a mediator, you're on this middle level and you're taking someone from the individual level and helping them to connect to the higher level, to their community, to their government, to the world around them. And that's kind of your responsibility. Like I said at the beginning, not everyone is presented with the same opportunities. Not everyone has the same privileges that some people are going to experience. And so social work can help to work as that middleman and provide people with these connections that they wouldn't otherwise have. The quote from the article said, mediation's purpose and place in human problem solving are inherent in the definition of social work practice. And so I thought that was interesting. Human problem solving, right? Clients coming to social workers with whatever concerns they may have, human problems, and working through them. The other thing that it talked about was teaching clients to negotiate for themselves. Um, Obviously, the social worker can work as this middle ground, but that's not always going to be the case, especially in different, social interactions and things like that. And so when we teach people to mediate for themselves, to negotiate for themselves, it teaches people it doesn't give them a voice. They already have a voice, but it teaches them how to use it in a constructive and applicable manner, which I think is awesome. And then, they can kind of go from being this client to having more self-reliance, to having a stronger support system that they've created themselves, which I think is great. NSAW, one of the key components of it is seeing the importance of human relationships. I thought this was huge, right? When it comes to negotiating and comes to these connections, we want a sense of trust and we want to form connections. And as a social worker, you have to be open and available to have those connections forged with you, right? You can't be like a closed off social worker. You have to make those connections with your clients, which are then going to help them make clients with other people around you. So I thought it was totally applicable. I love that human relationships is one of the core values. Okay, comparisons. So 2 similarities and 2 differences. First similarity is that connections are important. We see that across the board in all aspects, in all fields, in all realms of our lives, whether it be the workforce or the community, trying to get involved in the community on that meso level. These connections are important, and that's recognized by both of these articles that I read. The second similarity that I found is that in both, it highlights that forging connections is a teachable skill. In the news article, it talked about, making these connections in the workplace, said, go to seminars or read business books. There's so many like business influencers out there that are trying to teach you how to be more of an extrovert, how to make these connections, how to be the person that people want to get to know, want to hire, and want to promote. And then on the sociological side, you are working as a social worker, but you're not just there as a crutch, you're teaching them skills so that they can be more self-reliant and make these connections for themselves. So in both cases, it's something that people can learn and people can develop and work on. And then as far as the differences, frankly, the workforce is different than everyday life. You're not gonna, well, I imagine, I'm not sure, but there's definitely cases where social workers do help with job interviews and things like that, but it's not going to be the everyday guy who's just nervous to go into a job interview that's going to connect himself with a social worker, right? More people that come with issues in society, whatever that may be in their environment. And so obviously some of the tips in the news article don't really apply to the sociological perspective because it's coming from a different understanding of what's expected of you. And then they're also structurally different, right? So the connections that you're making work on a different level. So when it comes to negotiating and social work, it could be references to other social workers. It could be just a different level, different steps going on versus making an account on LinkedIn. The way that it operates is different. It's a similar end result because, yeah, you're forging these relationships, but the steps to get there are going to be pretty different. And then my question for you all is, where do you think is the best place to start your web of connections? So starting with you, for you, what's your next branch out there in your web? Oops, I forgot to show. Here's my, no, sorry. Okay, 1 second. Just to prove that I have them. My references. Thank you.